Seattle, as well as the Indiana Pacers. So he never won a championship, but he was always a winning player, always in winning situations. And he joins me live via Zoom. Welcome to the Rashad Mitchell Show, Sam Perkins.
You doing, man? Good to see you finally.
Yeah, finally, man, we got it together. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, no problem.
All right, man. First question: where were you born? Where you originally from?
Well, I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. I grew up in Bed-Stuy. Some people may know of it, but it was at a time where it was craziness. You know, we had gangs, we had people, strays, just trying to be bad, and so every now and then you had to run for your life, or you had to stand up for yourself. So, but either way, it was Brooklyn. With my sister's grandmother and mom, and we just made the best of life there. But I mean, I don't want to depict it as being so bad, but it was just a way of growing up in Brooklyn.
Okay. Other than basketball, were there other sports that you played other than basketball? Was basketball like your main sport that you played?
Well, the main sport, in New York, you played all kinds of things. If anybody's listening and know what handball is, softball, stickball, flag football, I mean, we did it all because we were just those type of kids at the time doing all kinds of things. It wasn't so much organized, but it was more or less organized on the streets. And we played in parks, we played in the streets of where we lived. And but basketball was the main thing because going to the parks and watching people, and there's legends there, and basketball is legendary there because you had so many people before me, and I was watching them, and that's how I got into basketball, just kind of like the sport itself and how they played. So it was creative at the time, and that's how I learned the game, by watching a lot and going to some of these well-known parks in New York.
Okay, so other than North Carolina, obviously that's the school you went to. Were there other schools that you wanted to go to, and what other schools that wanted to recruit you other than North Carolina?
Well, it was a process because somehow I got into basketball and got on a team from my high school, and I was selected to the U.S. Olympic team, and that's where coaches were at the time. And one of the coaches that I saw me was Dean Smith. And right after that, things took off because it was going into my senior year, and I got offered to play in invitationals and things of that nature, all-star games, and some of these various all-star teams for seniors. And one of the places that I met him was at the U.S. Olympic team in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado. And so I was able to make the team and play for the international Olympic team, U.S. team. And that's where it began. And then played on various other all-star games in Bree Voigt, Dapper Dan, McDonald's All-American, things of that nature. So that propelled me into knowing a lot of, going to showcases in front of a lot of college coaches. And some of the coaches or schools rather, were Notre Dame, Duke, San Francisco, UCLA, Syracuse, and of course North Carolina. So I narrowed it down like that, so I wouldn't have to be worried about so many other colleges that were coming after me. I had a trash bag full of colleges, but my father and I decided to narrow it down to those ones I just mentioned.
Okay, what year was your first year? Was it 79?
Say what?
What was your first year at North Carolina? Was it 1979 or 1980?
1980 to 84.
Okay. All right, so let's start with that first year, the 81 year. You went to the national championship game against Indiana. Unfortunately, you lost, but talk about your first experience playing in the Final Four in Philadelphia. Obviously, there's a lot of tough times going on at that time. I think that's the game. That's the day that Reagan unfortunately was shot. So talk about that experience, getting ready for Indiana. during that game?
It was surreal because we didn't really know about the shooting until halftime, but um, we got there. You know, my freshman year and getting to the Final Four was amazing, and to do it again was amazing again. But I think that first year as a freshman, I didn't know what was to become of it because of the fact I didn't know what to expect, and just reaching the Final Four was not good enough. But we had seniors on our team like Al Wood, and we wanted to really win for him. But overall, I think the experience in college, the Final Fours, the NCAAs, was just as tough as it is now. And playing for Dean Smith and playing against Indiana for the championship was one of those things I'll never forget because it made us determined to even do more the next year and work hard. But that experience was something from a guy from Brooklyn to be in the Final Four and be on the stage was something else and hold that special. But I can never take away how we got there because we every time North Carolina played, they had a bullseye on their back. So it was hard work, but it was good work because we were ready for every challenge that we were about to have.
Okay, so the following year, the 81-82 year, you go to the Final Four. A man named Michael Jordan comes on campus. Talk about that experience when he first came on campus. When you think of him as a player at that time, being a difference maker, obviously, but the first time you met Michael Jordan, talk about that experience.
Well, when he came on campus that summer, that's the first time I met him because I was going to summer school, I think. And we always played pickup after summer school, and some of the pros or former players came back that were pros came back to play against the current present team. So Michael came and he was enrolled in the summer league, and summer school and as a session, and we always played. And I first got to meet him in that game, and he was very different. He was very creative. We had a guy that was like him almost named Curtis Hunter, but we found out that Michael was on a different page, and we didn't know much about. I didn't know much about him because he was from North Carolina, and that's how much I know about North Carolina at the time, because I was from New York. But we got to know him, and we went on to get to the Final Four again, and it was even harder because of the fact that we went once, and I think we were deemed number one team in the nation. So, with all that said, we had to get through our conference division, ACC conference, then the ACC tournament, and then the NCAAs, and it was crazy, but it's still determined. We got there, and now we had to face Houston. The Final Four at that time was Houston, I want to say Louisville, Georgetown, and us. So you can imagine, people in places and trying to get at us. But we were fortunate to beat Houston because they had the high five, Slammer Jammer, Clyde Drexler, Michael Young, Michal, and even though they had a kid who was raw, Elijah, but he wasn't the Elijah. He wasn't the dream at the time, but he was on that team. And so with that said, we had some hurdles to climb, but we survived and got to the final game.
Yeah, I want to talk about that North Carolina Houston game because that was an interesting game because the five Slammer Jammers, they become like a powerhouse. Talk about winning that game to advance to play Georgetown. Talk about specifically your remembrance of that game.
Well, we didn't know. We knew that they were capable of running, scoring points, but one of their main guys was sick at the time. I can't think of his name, but I will. But they as a team ran. They ran up and down because all they was doing was dunking and during the regular season and through the NCAAs, but somehow we kind of controlled the tempo, and we started running, and we got out, and we got baskets on them, layups, back doors, jump shots, things of that nature, penetration, and getting them up off keel. And so one thing they didn't do all year as well was play defense. A team that can go at them. And even though we didn't have too many slam dunks or as much as they did during the year, we were able to get them out of sync a little bit, and that's what happened. And we found ourselves going to the free throw line and making some and ones and things of that nature. So, with all that said, we caught them off guard a little bit, and our experience did show because we were just there the previous year. So, I think our experience came in and fit well against that team.
Okay, so now it's Georgetown, North Carolina. Obviously, it's great to have you on because it's the 40th anniversary of that game, that legendary matchup. And let's talk about the preparation aspect, getting ready for a Georgetown team that will put, the Big East on the map. With John Thompson, Patrick Ewing, Sleepy Floyd, Ed Spriggs, and, Fred Brown, those guys. Talk about getting ready for them because they were the upstarts. They were, trying to find their identity. And they would do that for good or bad, being the bad boys of college basketball. They were rough around the edges, but talk about getting ready for Georgetown in that national championship game.
Well, Georgetown was a different beast because we were trying to, make sure that we kept Patrick Ewing busy because back moving from side to side. They had a nice team as well. They had Sleepy Floyd, they had Brown. They had and Pat Ewing and some others, but the thing is that they were all driven by whatever Patrick Ewing does, on defense. They were defensive minded, which showed a little bit at times, but at the same time, I think both teams came out tight. And then the first thing I noticed that Patrick Ewing was goaltending every shot, and that was pre-planned to do, I guess, in a sense, because what I heard that, if he kept goaltending, we wouldn't be driving to the hoop and result in shooting jump shots and getting us out of our what we did accustomed to doing. So, our coach said, keep shooting it, keep going to the hoop because he's goaltending. But now after we found out that he was doing that, they kind of backed off a little bit after that. So now we had to play an even game, and they had to as well. And Worthy had a phenomenal game, and we had good support. But the game was probably, as I remember, the game was probably no larger than 6 points, 5 points, 3 points. I mean, I don't know if anybody got a real sustainable lead, but that's how the game went. And as you can tell at the end was like one of those unpredictable endings because of the fact that what happened, it was just one of those games where it could have went either way.
Yeah, that was a great matchup, a great game. Eric Sleepy Floyd, he hit the potential game-winning shot, but then Jordan makes the shot. But the thing about that game, obviously James Worthy, he can't get over. He had like 28 points. He was just unstoppable. Just talk about his performance in that game.
Well, he was quick on the dribble. They couldn't stop him. And I keep emphasizing that we had to keep Patrick busy and one side help, and so we can get some layups or some passes or some assists. And I think that was the key. But Worthy was taking it to them real good because of the fact that there was no one that could stop him. And he broke out, and as you can see, was all tournament team. But at the same time, he was our MVP for that game, player of the game. And he just had one of those games where he remembers, we remember, the nation CBS remembers. So we all kind of rode his back a little bit and tried to help him as much as we could. And when Michael hit the shot with Jimmy Black passing it to him, it just solidified that, sideways, it was moving lateral. We had to keep them moving. And then on the last on the last play of the game, they had probably the last possession. It was one of those things where somebody was just out of place.
Yeah, he had 28 points, 4 rebounds, 13 out of 17 shooting, very efficient. So you win the national championship, and the following year, '83, you fell short. What went wrong in the second year after defending your championship in '82 and '83? What went wrong in terms of not making it? Because North Carolina State, obviously, they made it to the championship game and beat Houston in the championship game. But what went wrong that year where you failed to get to where you was the previous year?
Well, we had another young team. We had new guards, new people running the offense, and I don't think that's an excuse or what went wrong. But I think more or less teams, started boxing on us. They started playing defense on us, and we were now becoming a younger team, and we didn't have the veteran leadership that a Jimmy Black or Al Wood, but we were still there. We were still contenders, and we had some trip ups in the ACC tournament. And when we hit, I want to say Georgia, Indiana, one of them, we just didn't play well, and as a team. So teams got us, and they were ready for us. Like I keep saying, like I said before, as we started the show, we had the bullseye, and people that didn't know us or didn't play us, they hear about us all the time, and down in the South, they wanted a piece of us, and so we didn't match the energy, but we did play well, and we just fell short.
Okay, so now it's '84. This team had Kenny Smith on it, Michael Jordan, obviously. Also, you posed on the cover of Sports Illustrated with Michael Jordan. Talk about that experience being on the cover. Was that the only time you was on the cover? Was you on the cover for that the '81, '82 preview? Because I think that's a famous cover because they had Jordan on the cover. They had Worthy, Jimmy Black, Dean Smith. Was you on the cover of that one?
Yeah, we were. Dean Smith didn't like freshmen on the covers.
Yeah.
Just so happened to make it, but it didn't make me less or do anything more to think I was arrived anything. But it's just the fact that freshmen are freshmen. So with that said, we started making several covers of Sports Illustrated each year because of the fact that with the team success, and then me and Michael and I, my junior year, or I want to say my junior year, we made another cover of him and I, and that process was cool. I mean, it was a good thing, and never been isolated like that or singled out with another player, great player, but it was one of those things where I enjoyed it, and it was a photo shoot, and I don't know if Coach Smith kind of cared for it, but it symbolized a great deal because the poster came after that, and the number of Sports Illustrateds that were sold that year was unbelievable. So it was a great time. But like you said, we were determined to get there and show that number one. But Duke and Wake Forest and a couple other people were just after us because of that photo. It's like bulletin board material. So everywhere we went, it was bulletin board for sure. But we didn't care about that. We were young, and we were just happy that we made a cover.
Okay, so unfortunately lost there to Indiana. Talk about that unfortunate loss to the Indiana Roosters in '84. Talk about that unfortunate loss.
Well, they had a game plan. We almost came out of it, but I remember they everywhere Michael went, they shadowed him pretty much. They switched. They took turns on putting people on him. They kind of collapsed their defense in the middle on me a little bit, but like I said, we just didn't have enough, and we didn't do a great deal of adjusting or moving the ball, and we were so apt to get the ball to Michael. And every time we did, it was a tough shot. It was a tough possession, unlike all the other games we had. But they had a pretty good defense, and we kind of slipped a little bit, and that turned the tide for us a whole great deal, and we found ourselves losing again.
draft, get drafted by the Dallas Mavericks, the fourth overall pick. That's a legendary, draft. Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, John Stockton, as well as Hakeem Olajuwon. But outside the Dallas Mavericks, what other teams you wanted to play for other than Dallas Mavericks? Was there any particular team you wanted to play for other than Dallas?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I wanted to play for anyone at the time, but we wasn't sure. Well, see, so the whole thing was is that we didn't go to the draft, and the reason why we were trying out at the U.S. Olympic team, and with that said, there's most of those guys like myself, Michael, I want to say Charles. We didn't go. Well, not Charles because he got cut, but I think we didn't go to the draft. We had to find out after the practice at a local radio station in Bloomington, Indiana, to see where we were drafted at. So Bobby Knight wouldn't let us go to the draft, and it's a good thing we didn't go. But the thing is that we found out, and it was even more of a surprise for us to see where we went. And Dallas Mavericks just so happened to be the fourth pick, and I could have went either way to Philly or Dallas or even lower. But at that time, they drafted as what they needed, and I think the Mavericks wanted a center at the time, and since I played center in college, they wanted a center. Now, it could have been me or Turpin, but when I talked to Dick Motta in our interview real quick prior in Chapel Hill, he didn't know whether he was going to pick myself or Turpin. So I must have said something right, and for him to select me in the fourth pick, first round, and then all of a sudden come Barkley, because they didn't pick Barkley because we had a guy by the name of Marcus Wyatt. And so, and that's what I was talking about. And they drafted because of need, not because of popularity. So that's how I wound up in Dallas.
Okay, so during that time, obviously, fast forward to the '88 season, because while you were there, you had the best success that Dallas had, because you had yourself, you had James Donaldson, Roy Tarpley, Derek Harper, Rolando Blackman, had a very talented team. Was Dick Motta the coach at that time, or John McLeod?
John McLeod was.
Okay, the '88 season. All right, what made everything just turn it around? Because you went to the conference finals against the Lakers. But talk about that season in general. What made this team turn it around? Obviously, had the talent, but what clicked in the '87-'88 season of the NBA?
Well, we were. I would say we were underachievers because the names that you mentioned, we had a squad, but to be honest, we were we weren't as close as a unit as a team would be, because our indifferences. We had a lot of disruptions every now and coaches disgruntled with some players and things of that nature. So we weren't really steady, but we won a lot of games and we were noticeable. But within all that, if we just got along and played unselfish, we would have done a lot more. That's why I say we were underachievers, because we just had our road to mountains. We were our little valleys of ups and downs, and the road to success was almost like we saw it, but it was impossible to get there because of all the intangibles that were going on. But we did turn it around to save face and do well for the city, and went to the conference finals. But it was just one of those things where we just couldn't get over the hump, because LA was in our way, and LA, we went all the way to the very last game, and they came out ahead with 6 minutes to go.
Okay, so that was the best of times for Dallas, because we look at it going to the '90s. Yes, they drafted Jason Kidd, Paul Mashburn, I believe Jimmy Jackson. They still didn't have that success that you guys had. Not until Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash came together. That's when they became legit. And Michael Finley. Then they won the championship in 2011. So it was like a real drought where they wasn't effective as a franchise. But anyway, you leave to go to play with the Lakers. Well, obviously it's a business and all that. So obviously that's a good situation because you're playing with Magic that won the last two MVPs in '89 and '90. But talk about the reason for leaving Dallas to go to the Lakers.
Well, I was a free agent, and I was first of a couple guys testing the free agent market, and I remember thinking that I was going to go stay within the division with Houston or San Antonio, but all of a sudden, the Lakers came with an offer to my agent at the time, and I had to make a quick decision. When midnight came, I had to make a quick decision, and they made a deal for me to get to Orlando Woolwich with the guy that they let go for me to get there, and so I made it overnight. Went on a little week vacation with the family, and then I left them to go to LA to make the news conference, and nobody knew what was going to go on except for the people in the airport. They were talking about, yeah, you coming here, you must be coming here. So all that said, made the conference and talked about the Lakers. I was kind of happy, but I learned a great deal what not to do, and from my experience as a rookie years as a Maverick. But once you got to the Lakers, it was a whole different ball game. I mean, everything was sharp, crisp to the T. No lateness, no excuses, no anything. You put on that purple and gold, you were told to perform, and that's what pretty much happened. And I got there, I had to adjust a little bit to all the things outside indifferences, all outside awareness, and I mean, it was crazy because I had never thought living in LA I would be the one and also playing for the Lakers. But I asked my guy Worthy, how is it? And he was like, it's good. And so after time went on, the outside distractions did not bother you as long as you came to the forum and you played and then you won and that's it. And you have your good times later. And that's what pretty much it was. We had a team, AC Green, Byron Scott, Eldon Campbell, Magic, of course, Terry Teagle. We had a slew of guys, and Larry Drew at the time. And we just had a slew of guys that were able to play and had experience. And we had a rookie class too, but and Vlade, of course. But we were always ready to play.
Advance finally to the NBA Finals. We'll talk about that moment in Game 6, actually upsetting Portland Trailblazers because they had to be the favorite because they had the best record that year, not the Bulls. But talk about that win, finally get to the NBA Finals for yourself personally.
That was my first one, and we beat a great team. That was probably one of the best rivalries I ever been in. Everybody was a rival, to tell you the truth, because everywhere we went, the Lakers were the Lakers show, and we brought it. But they had a team with Clyde Porter, Duckworth. They had Jerome Kersey. They had Buck Williams. They had Cliff Robinson. Everybody that I named, Danny Young. Everybody I named was just as competitive as we were on our team. And they had the best record, as you say. But at the same time, in 6 games, that series could have went either way because winning on the road or losing one, and then gaining some momentum. It was one of those series where you won't forget. It takes you back to why you compete so hard and compete to the highest level. And if I wasn't used to that, I wouldn't know what to expect. So I was always somewhere that on a tough team that had good talent, and as the Mavericks did as well. But we didn't play with that intensity until we got to that particular game. So we didn't play together. We didn't play smart. But with the Lakers, it was always on point, on time, and we never really relinquished anything because we were the Lakers, and that's how you took that pride in those colors seriously, because it's so legendary. There are players before me that were so instrumental there that you wanted to play your best to do well for the city and for each other.
Okay, so now it's 1991 NBA Finals. Obviously, Magic and Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson. That was the subplot, rightfully so. It was an anticlimactic, series because it only went 5 games. But you the reason why they won that first game, because I remember vividly, Magic Johnson was double teamed and he kicked it out to you for a 3-pointer. I think Horace Grant came at you to contest the shot and made it. But talk about that because you won that game, I believe, 93-91. But talk about winning that game for the Lakers.
Well, as I remember now, since that, like I said before, that was my first finals, and that was Michael actually first finals, believe it or not, and I didn't know that. So you had two Carolina players going at each other for their first finals ring, but that first game, yes, we won on the road. We were always looking to take one on the road, if not two, but it's always to get one and split because you never know what's going to happen at home. And Mike Dunleavy was the acting coach at the time, and he drew up a play, and he didn't say nothing about me taking a shot at all, and so I was doing what I was supposed to do, and keep on. At that time, the rules are a little different. You can stay high from preventing a guy staying in the lane, just laying in the lane. And so I think me and Worthy and I exchanged places just to keep the weak side busy. But he told Magic that in the huddle, somebody's going to be open. Perkins is going to be open. That's why we interchanged. And without knowing that, I was just happened to be there. And somebody went to double Magic on the move, and Horace came up and slipped up. And next thing you know, the ball was in my hand. I guess I got to shoot it. So when I shot it, it was contested, but the ball was set in my hand, ready to go, and just fortunate to make the shot. And that put us up by, I want to say, 3. And they had a last attempt, last possession, and Michael missed the shot, went in and out, and the ball game was over. So we thought we had a good chance, but then, and not to make excuses, but everybody started getting hurt. Worthy had a bad ankle. Byron was not feeling so hot. Magic was concerned with retiring and things of that nature. I'm like, why y'all talking about this? Well, when I first get here, y'all winning championships before I got here. But they were just too strong, and they had our number, and we weren't at full capacity. But the game one was the tide of turned the tide for a minute, and it would look like we were going to be, it was going to be an interesting series, but they got us at home several times when we dropped the ball.
Yeah, and also that year, obviously Michael Jordan won the championship, but talk about obviously the shot that he, the switching of the hands. Talk about that moment, years later when that happened. Talk about that. Switch
Talk about
when he switched hands, when he went, to the lane, and switched
yeah.
hands.
We were playing defense and preventing the drive, but he got by somebody, one of our guards, Byron, somebody, and AC and myself were about to go attempt it, and I heard AC something go like, "I got it," and that froze me for that moment, and I assume Michael heard it too, but he switched hands and made it with the left because he said he saw me coming, and I kind of stopped because I heard my teammates say he got him, And so, with that said, he just made a good play and switch hands, and it was a good play. Yeah.
Right. Fortunately, in the off season, I was imagining contracted the HIV virus, and you still on that team, the 91, 92 team. Um, Obviously, things didn't go well that year in '92. So 93, '94, you went to the Seattle Supersonics. That was your first year, '92, '93, or '93, '94. You went to Seattle.
93, 94, and the following year, something we found, well, that year we didn't know what was going on, and we was at practice at Loyola Marymount, and or Loyola rather, excuse me, and we were just practicing, and we were about to go through our shots and things of that nature. And Mike Dunleavy called the practice to end. He said, just go straight home and come back at phone at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, whatever time. So we get back unknowing what was going on, and we were waiting in the locker room for a good 45 minutes until Magic came in, and he told us the deal that he, contracted the HIV virus. We were like, whoa, we was like, though somebody knew, but I didn't know, and I was like, man, this just can't be real. It's not happening. And I promise you, it was a sunny day, and when we went outside, it got so cloudy. It was so dark, like as if it affected the whole city of Los Angeles. And so a couple of teammates and I went to eat, and we talked about it. But we were talking about how you could get it from someone. And we heard so many different ways you can get it, and conspiracies, and just people thinking out loud. And the NBA at the time set up a forum for us to go to. It was involuntary. I mean, it was voluntary. But the thing was, it was to the point to learn about the HIV virus. And so I went to Johns Hopkins, and they was talking about how hard it is to catch it from a woman than it is a man. So you never knew what was going on, and you didn't want to come to any conclusions, but we had to just wait and see. And with Magic being away, we kind of lost our leader, and we didn't have a great season as we thought. And then Mike Dunleavy decides to leave, and Randy Funn took over. So we were just in a free fall. Things were going great, and then next year wasn't so great. So, but that was the ordeal, and that's how we felt at the time. I don't know if anybody experienced that. We had players that didn't want to play against him because they were talking about blood and catching it through a cut or a scratch. We didn't know. So that's why the NBA took charge and had us go to voluntarily go to a session at Johns Hopkins to talk about HIV.
Okay, so go to the Seattle Supersonics in '93. So it was '93, '94. That was your first year with Seattle, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that year you had a great season. I think you had the best record in the league, but you get upset by the Denver Nuggets, team led by Dikembe Mutombo, Chris Jackson, changed his name to Abdul Maroof, Reggie Williams, Ryan Williams, changed his name to Mike Dele, Robert Pack, very talented young team. LaFonso Ellis, but talk about losing Game 5 at home to Denver, unfortunately, because that team could have won the championship that year. Talk about that.
They did what we kind of do. They scrambled and played interior defense, and Mutombo was a force, and then Robert Pack kind of just was so hyped against Gary Payton. LaFonso Ellis was a decent defender and scorer, and they had got us. They got a good jump on us, and we found ourselves dragging in the sand, as they say, and we couldn't put nothing together. So they disrupted our offense just a bit, to the point where they kept making defensive plays. We found ourselves always trying to come back, and we're making a comeback. But for every comeback play we made, um, they they got a foul, got us in foul trouble. They blocked shots. They got rebounds. They limited us to second shots. So with that said, we were rolling the whole year because we had the best. I guess we were the one seed, and they were eighth, and we just we kind of came to a halt, like bam, like tick tick boom, it just happened, and we just didn't get our bearings right, and every time we try to regroup, they always had something else. They double teamed hard, they rotated hard, and then on top of that, they complemented it, everything turnover. They always scored on our turnovers.
Yeah, your team, that year had a 63 and 19 record, best record. Yeah, first number one seed to lose to an eighth seed at that time. So fast forward to 95, 96, we finally get to the NBA Finals. We had a 64 and 18 record, the franchise best. And you had Devin Shrimp, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, yourself, Hersey Hawkins, Nate McMillan, very talented team. But you go run into Chicago, facing your former teammate again, Michael Jordan. We'll talk about that was a great team, obviously, arguably the greatest team ever. 72 wins, 10 losses. But talk about going into that finals. Obviously, you've been in the finals before. This is your second time around in the finals. But talk about that experience playing the Bulls again.
Well, it didn't get easy, I'll tell you, because now I'm with a different team, and we were, I mean, we were just as determined as when I was a Laker, and Seattle had a lot of players too. Now we had Detlef, Hershey Hawkins, Kendall Gill, Sean, Frank Mikowski, myself, Vincent Askew. Man, we had a slew of players that worked hard, and Gary, of course, that worked hard in practice, and that division that division was tough because we had to get through Utah, Portland, same thing all over there. That Western Conference was no biggie, was no joke. So the thing was is that we had to play Utah again, and Utah was very good at home, and playing there was mad. But we were able to get one there, and then we they were almost got us in Seattle, but we survived to get to the finals, and I remember that game well. It was like a monkey off our backs, and to the point where I've realized that I'm going to the finals again. It took some years to get there, but I got there again, and now the team we're the underdog because we're young, and I don't think a player on that team went to the ever been to the finals. If I can't remember, if somebody, it was maybe Hershey or maybe somebody. But anyway, it was one of those games where Seattle was like on the map now, and the guys, we made it and thought we had a good chance, and then we turn around again and lose to a super team again, and we just couldn't we just couldn't get over that hump.
Okay, so now we go to the Indiana Pacers. What made you want to go to the Indiana Pacers and leave Seattle?
I go what now?
The Indiana Pacers, you left Seattle, now you go to the Pacers. But what made the Pacers a good fit for you to go to them as your career extended longer? You end up with the Pacers. What made that come about?
Well, that was another free agent. I didn't get to resign, and so all of a sudden it was either Utah or go to Pacers. But I wanted to go to the East Coast because family, could see me more a little bit, cousins and things of that nature. Because it was towards the end, it was on the other side of my career, and Indiana came in, and they had Mark, Reggie, the Davis brothers, Rick Smith, um, Chris Mullen, Derek McKee, and it was again another loaded team, and all I had to do was fit in and bring whatever I brought prior and play. And I was coming off the bench sometimes. I was six man and backing up Rick Smith, and all I had to do was go in there and make 1 3 and change the difference. So I was playing with four Captain Larry Bird and Rick Carlisle, and I really enjoyed that team because they had they had a nemesis, the New York Knicks, and it was crazy again. So I went from Portland to Utah to the Knicks, being what their battles were, and right in the middle of it. And it was fun too. Everywhere I went was fun. I always had fun because I always challenged myself against the better players like Ewing and Clyde and whomever it was. Whoever was a force, I was there. But being in the East Coast, also the cities were closer, so the rides weren't as far, wasn't as long. And I loved going from Milwaukee to Indiana because I was like a 20 minute, like when I say drive, it was like a 40 minute, 40 minute airplane ride, or going to New York, or going to somewhere on the East Coast. But it was fun, and I enjoyed that. But you learn how to take care of your body as you get older, and we had a team of veterans that did that, and so we looked after each other. Reggie again was our leader.